Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you. Hey everyone, Joshua Hanlon back here with New Hashima City at Atlanta BrickCon, and we've got a bunch of the builders who are involved in this incredible layout. There's tons of new stuff. If you've seen some of our old videos on this, you can check those out as well, but there's some great new stuff here at the show as well. So if you want to introduce yourself to all of our new viewers and tell us what we've got here.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for talking with us again, Josh. We're always happy to show New Hashima. I'm Stefan, Formentano. Stefan builds Lego around the internets. So, and yeah, here we are with New Hashima again. If you're new and you haven't ever seen it, welcome to New Hashima. Passion project of mine and my collaborators for going on 4 years now. So we're happy to be here again with a lot of new, exciting stuff.
And it continues to be an epic collaboration here in Atlanta. So what can you tell us about what's new in this section?
So the biggest new thing for New Hashima is we have right in front of us on this big island section is by Nate Brill, Shipalulu Moss. That some of maybe the older AFOLs on Flickr will know from the Flickr days. Has brought his island module that he's been working on. Some of these modules he's been working on since 2013. Nate really honestly was one of the biggest inspirations from the 2013 Bro Lug, which is the inspiration for New Hashima. He was one of the big collaborators there, and his style and building style really had an influence on New Hashima. So we're super happy that he's here with us this weekend, and so excited that he could come out for the show, because he really one of the original Brolug Cyberpunk builders, and we couldn't be more excited to have him here displaying stuff, again, that he's been working on for over a decade now. So I'm going to bring him in just a second, but thanks to him for coming and sharing this with New Hashima, and really inspiring New Hashima, being one of the primary inspirations. So, but that's what we're looking at right here, and we're going to bring him in to talk about it and give you all the details.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. So glad you could come out to the show here. Thanks for bringing all your hard work out here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here finally. It's been a long road to get here, but.
So let's start here with maybe this building on the corner, and you kind of take us through the different architecture that you have here.
All right, sure, yeah. So there's kind of two main parts to this whole thing. On the right are things that I made 10 years ago, and on the left are things I've just finished making. So if it's all right, maybe we'll go over here just real quick. And so back in, it was 2012, I guess, Carter Baldwin was involved with Brolug and also with Penlug that I was a member of at the time. I lived up that way, and he would get a lot of us involved in his big post-apocalyptic displays that they would do at Brick Fair, Virginia every year. They did like a flooded city and a desert city, and it was always kind of some kind of themed apocalypse. And then one year he came to me and said, I want to change it up a little bit. We're just going to do cyberpunk, no apocalypse. I said, that sounds really cool. And he envisioned a series of islands, kind of surrounded by water, connected by bridges and all that. So I started to build for that. And some of these buildings here are the original ones. In 2012, being able to build a building out of dark green was just exciting. That was enough to kind of turn ahead. But one of the things I started to do was look for unusual colors, unusual parts, and Scala parts were a big inspiration for me. So I started looking for Scala. All of this whole building is light salmon from the Scala doll theme from the 90s. So we've got towel bars and washing machine doors and dollhouse rooftops, and then repurposing all of that into something different. It was really exciting for me.
Yeah, it's super cool to see how you can tackle such an unusual theme in some unique pieces in that way.
Well, I think a lot of stuff in the cyberpunk space starts being too gray. And when you actually look at cities, gray paint is the same price as blue paint, as red paint, as whatever. Buildings are often really brightly colored, even in kind of depressing places, So I wanted to bring a lot of that variety. And it just, for me, it makes it more interesting to look at anyway. So I had to make quite a few changes to integrate what I built before with the newer things I started working on. The original layout had a train track that went under, and basically that building underneath there, underneath the road, wasn't there. There was just an empty space for a train. And so this building is more or less the same as it was 10 years ago, except I added, I got rid of that train track that I didn't need and built a new road to line up with what I was building, since then.
This is looking a little precarious here. What's that structure like?
Well, there's a solid Technic spine that runs up the whole length of that building, and then all the buildings are actually connected to each other, so that it makes it strong enough. Okay. We'll say strong enough. I tested it at home. It didn't fall over, so it's good enough for the show. And then after 2013, I had sat on this stuff for almost 10 years, and I'd always wanted to finish out the whole island because I'd collaborated with another builder, Chris Edwards, at the time. I built one half, he built the other half, and he had like a big road out in front of it and everything, and I always thought, he told me right out off the bat that he didn't want to keep his section together. He had other plans, and I said, well, someday I'm going to finish the island for myself then. Well, that ended up taking a very long time, and I was kind of starting to think about doing it when I heard from Stefan and from Simon. They were saying, hey, we're going to try to bring that back. And I looked at what Stefan had been doing for the last couple of years. I wasn't too familiar with his work, and I was just blown away. Like, he was already doing what I'd always dreamed of doing, So when they invited me to join, I said, yes, yes, please. So I started, for the last basically 24 months, I've been building pretty regularly, pretty much every day I can, to build this whole section here, the tall buildings and the highway. And just kind of trying to keep, like, some of these ideas, for example, the Modulex here on this corner building, that's Modulex Ochre Yellow, crammed into some old homemaker windows and doors from the 70s, so there's a lot of parts from the 70s there.
You just like to really make it hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's part of it. I kind of think if you can make it not look like Lego, that's kind of fun, and an easy way to do that, I guess, is to use weird parts. So that's part of it. I like the color too. You can't get a dark yellow in Lego really, so by using the Modulex, we kind of get around that. And so I had a little sample of that sitting on a table for a decade, and a little sample of that building that you can barely see in the alley with those are big Modulex tiles, Modulex 8x8 tiles in brown and gray. And I built that a little sample of it, just one floor with the windows, right after like Brickworld 2013, and I sat it on my desk, and it sat on my desk everywhere I moved like 4 times. And I said, eventually we're going to get to it. And once I was invited to be part of this, it finally got going. And so I built that building with the Modulex big tiles, and then I just kind of went counterclockwise around here with the dark blue, and then this big tall gray one.
I love all the translucent red mixed in with the gray there.
Yeah, that's actually inspired by one of the unreleased prototype space themes that Lego did back in, I think it was like 1989. They had, I think the fan community calls it Graytron, and there's this one picture of a space base with big trans red panels and like gray and dark gray coloring, and I love it. It's one of my favorite, basically might be my favorite Lego set, and it doesn't actually exist. So I use that color scheme in some of the shaping to kind of bring that out, and the trans red windows are so good.
What is this green piece here?
So that's also a Scala piece. That's a medium lime, and it's just a big panel. Like the Scala dollhouses had these walls that I think Meredith actually has one exposed on one of her builds that has these grooves in it, and those kind of panels can snap into the grooves, and you can kind of build the structure of the dollhouse, but then reconfigure the furniture and the inside of it. That was the idea. But they also do attach to Lego bricks, like the 1x2 brick with the groove in it. And so you can use them with system as well. You don't need those special panels.
What's this building shop down here?
So Stefan has a lot of rules for the new Hashima standard. One of them is like regular minifigs only, no friends, mini dolls, and that sort of thing. But I wanted to be a little cheeky, so this is Japanese for friend Tomodachi. And so the store is Tomodachi 2.0, and you can buy a friend there. A friendly robot to hang out with. We've also got a Fabuland Crow in there. I can't remember what his name is. They all have names, but so you it's not just friends, but yeah, they're in their little kind of car dealership there.
And that brings us out to the highway section out here. So how did this part come together for you?
Well, this was the hardest thing by far. I originally was just going to do, I always wanted to do an elevated highway like this at roughly this height. But then, like, I was seeing some of the things that Stefan was doing with addressable LEDs and, Arduino and that sort of thing. And I'm like, well, what if the lane markings lit up? And I'm like, okay, maybe we can do that. So I didn't know too much about that kind of thing, so I had to teach myself a little bit. I'm not a coder. I'm not really an electronics person. But it's actually easy enough that I think the average person can pick it up with a little persistence. So in here we have about 400 LEDs, most of which are what are called addressable LEDs that you can program to change their color, change their flashing pattern. It's not doing much right now, but I can show you one area over here, kind of demonstrate. So, like, that's a simple thing you can have it do is just fade out. But you can have them change to any RGB color. They can flash really rapidly. You know, they're similar to some of the arrays that Stefan has over in his section. You'll get to see that they're just using them to display images. They're tightly packed together, so it looks a bit like an LED screen, basically. So that you can do almost anything with them, and the programming for them is pretty simple. So that ended up. Everything about this took longer than I wanted it to. Every time I thought, this step will take a week, it took 3 weeks. And, it's 10 base plates long, so about 300 studs long, and very heavy. It's pretty solid. It's got a really strong Technic core in it, but a lot of the little detail pieces on the outside like to fall off, because when you build something at this scale, things start to not meet up the way they should, You build studs in one direction and studs in the other direction, and at a certain size, they start to get offset from each other, and they don't want to click in, so there's a lot of issues with that. Thankfully did survive the trip down. That was the first thing I did when I got down here is I plugged it into the power source and saw all the lights come on, and I'm like, thank you.
It looks spectacular, and all the effort you put into those lights definitely pays off, because it really just makes it pop so much more than if it was just a gray road the whole way.
Well, yeah, I wanted to. I get really nerdy about, like, logistics, I guess, like trucks and transportation systems and highways and markings. And I'm like, what would be a novel way to kind of show that in Lego a little bit? Well, that was it. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from other builders over the years who've done different lane markings, but, they've done them in white, like the arrows and some of that are things that I've kind of borrowed and somewhat improved upon too, using newer pieces, because you find something online from 2009, 2010, and like, well, I could build that now, but we've got all these new brackets and everything that have come out since. I can make it stronger, I can change the shape of it a little bit. So and then also inspiration from real world roads, like Japanese roads have a particular kind of lane marking, so there's like some Japanese text there warning you that there's that says caution. And there is actually a particular kind of font that they use on their lane markings that's very blocky. So originally I was looking at the words and I'm like, I can render these shapes, I think, and I was trying to do these diagonal things, but then I actually found a picture of the lane markings, and they were like weird, blocky, kind of digital looking almost, and I'm like, oh, well, that's actually easier, okay.
What are some of your favorite vehicles or scenes kind of happening up here on the roadway?
Well, so I can't take credit for the vehicles. I was busy enough with everything that I built that I couldn't build any vehicles, but I really do love the trauma team scene. Like, I built the road to have a staged crash. So I think you can kind of see that there's skid marks there, and then a little damaged section of the guardrail. So I was really glad we were able to stage basically what I'd wanted to build myself but didn't have time to. And that's one of the really great things about a collaboration is, you can fill in the gaps for each other and make it better than it would have been if it was just you.
No, this whole section is just spectacular, and I love how you've kind of come full circle from 10 plus years ago now to be able to display again here with New Hashima City. So just really, really excellent work here. Does that wrap up your section?
I think it pretty much does. I mean, man, I could go on and on, but it's probably a little bit boring.
I didn't realize we didn't talk much about kind of the bottom layers down here. So if you want to tell us some more about what's happening down there.
Sure. So each of my buildings is individual from the ground up. Like they actually separate sideways. And my idea is just to have multiple layers. So we've like, and the seedier areas might be closer to the water. So we've got kind of like a fish market. We do also have a temple, and that's based on the Lo Pan Temple in Hong Kong, who's an ancient Chinese patron of architects and builders. So I thought that was kind of appropriate for a city that's like built in this kind of terrifying way that people would want to pray before they even walked into their new apartment. Maybe pray that it was built well enough. So we've got a lot of that kind of thing going on down here. Some of it's hard to see in the narrower places, but there's like a tool shop and a like kind of a boat dock that. I'd wanted to do an interior on some of that stuff and just didn't get there, but someday. That's for next year. And then it kind of moves up a little bit in to the second level, and there's like a spice shop. And I made I think about the only branded thing I made is a Lawson convenience store in the kind of narrow waterway there. That's is popular in Japan.
Well, excellent work. Yeah, thank you once again for bringing this out and for all the time you spent building here. It looks fantastic.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to look at it.
Absolutely. We'll keep moving around the rest of the layout then. Yeah.
All right, I'm sure Nate took you through. Again, we're super happy to have him because he was just such a huge inspiration for New Hashima when I was getting started, like planning the project. I mean, this started as a collab just for my local lug, and you've seen how it's grown, right? Because you've seen so many iterations. So much thanks to Nate, really, for all the inspiration and coming out and being here. So we're moving into inner city. So we have Nate's slum section, and then Sector 2, Inner City. We have some of this industrial zone here from Connor Lill, who's built these this cool dock that creates this awesome canal effect, splitting Inner City from the slum section. So a lot of thanks from Connor because he kind of retrofitted this from our Chicago layout and made it work. Luckily, the new Hashima modular system is pretty forgiving, so we can mix and match and move things around with relative ease to get them to fit. There's a little bit of setup problems, but we worked it all out and got it all together in record time this year. We have a new collaborator here, Evan, who built this awesome cube with the jazz club in the bottom here of the right here on the edge of Inner City, and we're going to bring him in to talk about it, okay?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Evan. I just did this cube. It's a jazz club with some apartments around it, and in the back there's area for like a loading dock or whatever. I think in the build I spent a lot of time focusing on the like architectural style of it. I'm in school to be an architect, and I really enjoy a lot of European modernism and like Bauhaus, and so I really pulled from those aesthetics to try to get that to work. And I also love jazz, so I had to do a jazz club. There has to be a jazz club in New Hashima. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and then how about this section up here?
I didn't design that, but it happened to work really well because in the front of my jazz club, there's a whole bunch of that sand blue tiles, and having the tower go up worked really well. I don't remember who exactly designed that, but it ended up working all right, being a topper for my cube because I just have the cube beneath it.
I like the variety of colors. What are some of your favorites you were able to incorporate in there?
Yeah, I really tried to incorporate as many different colors as I could. I think there's that like salmon pink, fairly new, and the lighter yellow are some of my favorites. I thought were very interesting. Additionally, in the bottom, I have an AC unit store. It's kind of hard to see. You got to like look through all these mechs. But we have so many air conditioning units in New Hashima that I figured we need a store for them because I didn't think there was one in the city yet, and there wasn't. So they have a little shop there. So I'm pretty proud of the little tiny store there.
Okay. Great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we'll
come back in here then. Okay, we got the next builder.
I'm Meredith. I was at Brick World with Stefan and Simon, and I live in Atlanta, so I wanted to come up and bring some more stuff out, but I'm going to kind of walk you through. We actually kind of have like a Peach Lug corner going on. We got some more folks from Peach Lug that joined in because it's here in Atlanta. I got my original buildings here from Brick World. They're obnoxiously Friends colored, but I love the Friends colored. Unfortunately, the lights in the purple bathhouse died when installing, but everything's still pretty good working order. And then around the center, it's kind of hard to get into, but I have a new topper, a 2-wide topper, and a 2-wide building underneath it. I kind of was wanting to do like a Bauhaus style, but make it really obnoxious. And so I have the neon green in there, I can't wait to see it tonight. And then I have a small kind of strip of a Hong Kong style. I think we're all going Hong Kong for our new builds lately. Kind of like Hong Kong thin apartment complex with a little manga store. I kind of didn't know what to put in there for some, I have some books in there, but I'm like, I'm going to stick like a Nexo Night in there because Nexo Nights are technically cyber something. And we have, the Ericksons would love that. So, and then the rest of the corner, we actually got a lot of, as I said, we have a few peach slugs and a SC lug member. So it's kind of like the southeast corner here. The topper right there that has the teal. Yes, I pushed Dana to use teal. He wanted to do all white. I'm like, it's Cyberpunk. You got to have color. He used the video cubes. And he built kind of like a cubey cube, but it's fun. I mean, it's inspired by the part. On the other side, which you can't see right now, he has some really cool purple trees. They were kind of inspired off of, I can't remember the gentleman's name, Ringal. Yeah. He had used those in a different mock, plopped them right in. That fantasy works, whether it's futuristic or if it's kind of like medieval. It worked pretty well. And then below that, and you're kind of have to go around the side, but you'll see Dana made a cool kind of mecha dealership. Like, in the future, you don't go to a dealership to buy a car. You go there to buy a mecha. And then underneath that, we have a cube by a Mikey in South Carolina. Very cute, kind of some bodegas and some food shops. And then next to him is Steve Erickson. Don't know if you've heard of him at all. He designed a cube, which is a really cute marketplace, kind of an open-air marketplace. And that kind of wraps up, it's kind of almost all local folks here that did that corner. So, and then I added one more thing. I don't know why I built it, but I built what's called a Pai Fang gate. I was going to make an open air market, but I kind of ran out of stall ideas. But I brought it anyways, and we kind of stuck it in the middle of the
the blue gate there?
Blue and yellow. Yeah, it's kind of called a Pai Fang gate. They kind of just have it in entrance ways and around China. And I figured, it looks great, and that plaza adds some color. So added a few new things, not a ton of new things, but I think Stefan's going to walk through part of his Sector 8 again with some new additions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're super happy with how this tower section in Inner City turned out. Lots of local Georgia, Atlanta folks and Peach Lug folks who came out and have become part of the new Hashima Demons family. So Dana and Meredith, thanks to them, and Mikey, who came down from South Carolina, thanks to him, and Steven Erickson. You'll see more of his cube around the other side. I wish he was here to speak about it, but he's probably at home taking a nap. He's a really sleepy guy. So yeah, we're into 08, and some of the newer viewers might not know it, but Sector 8 has been the sector I've been focused on mostly for the last 4 years. We've got some of my favorite builds on the corner here. The AquaZone tube tower with the phasing RGB lights. I'm sure you talked to Nate about his interesting parts usages with the Scala and stuff. So some of that new Hashima interesting parts usage coming into play there. The chrome 1x2 tile building as well that I'm very fond of, that has that curved facade you might see if you were walking around downtown Tokyo. I try to take a lot of inspirations from Tokyo, Hong Kong, Chongqing, anywhere in that area of the world. Try to get architectural details and repeated architectural design philosophies from there. So you can see some of that in this corner. We also have a new feature for 08 and a new cube here, the Trauma Team Cube, which Simon is going to come in and talk about. I'm sure everyone recognizes Simon, admin for New Hashima, the main man. I don't know, the really is taking New Hashima really to awesome heights and brought tons of new people in and excitement to the project. So he's going to talk about his Trauma Team Cube, okay?
I love this. We saw the Trauma Team responding to an incident on the highway over there, so now we see more of it.
We did, and the whole idea around this cube was that Mark, our Fleebnork, he built the Trauma Team vehicle. And I liked it so much. I'm like, can I have one? He's like, well, come to Atlanta. It's like, okay. So if I was okay, if I'm going to come, I need to build something for it. So that's where the thought of building the medical ambulance pad is. Like if you remember from Chicago or Brick Fair from the previous years, this was the police station that I built. So this is Simon's spot. So I had to put something in here, but I was flying this time and not driving. So I decided I'm going to make a simple cube. And there was a guy in Barrie in UK that helped us in Germany design the concept of a cube that folds apart. I did that, but if you notice, it's still volumetrically, it fits on a 1 cube, but it actually is about the size of 2 cubes in the worst possible way ever. So probably should have thought about that. But like he supplied the design, the figures. There was actually a couple of trauma teams deployed throughout the city. And we could talk about it a bit more on the other side. But like the idea is, again, it's like they need medical supplies. Like we have a couple of police and we have a couple of military stuff floating around. But this was just more of a relatively almost prototyping and testing how well we can start building cubes that can be disassembled so that we can fly with them. So that we can do more stuff in overseas or maybe super overseas for, I don't know, maybe Japan or something.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
Stretch goals.
The color scheme on this is fantastic, though. I think those colors together work very well.
Well, it's kind of interesting because like this is kind of from the video game Cyberpunk 2077, but this color scheme is really good. In fact, if you looked around, there are 3 buildings, including this one, that have essentially the same color scheme because white and teal is objectionably cool. And like I have always loved teal. Broke my heart when it disappeared from Lego for a while, but when it came back, it is absolutely fantastic.
Excellent work. Thank you so much. Keep moving through that.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have moving more around here into 08. We have I want to point out this awesome ad screen, which we have some custom builds. We had a lot of fun, or we have had a lot of fun on our Discord. All of us putting together little custom ads to put on these Brick Stuff screens. Brick Stuff, it makes awesome stuff. And they're a proud sponsor of New Hashima, and we use their system a lot. I know a lot of people ask about how we achieve the lighting, and we have sort of a mix, probably 50-50 of Brick Stuff because it's easy to incorporate with USB, and I build a lot of custom stuff, and I know Nate builds a lot of custom stuff as well. So we have a big mix of stuff to achieve the lighting that we have, and we're super happy to have the screens because they really add that realism, I feel, to the city with the big matrix walls and screens and ads going. And yeah, and the team has had a lot of fun putting little Easter eggs and inside jokes onto the ads. Anyway, so another building in 08 that I'm really proud of, I think y'all maybe seen before, but maybe some new viewers haven't seen it, is this Kuahong apartment building. So this is inspired by some real-world buildings in Hong Kong. I wanted these like rugged, grungy apartment styles with the laundry hanging out and the AC units that are iconic for that part of the world. We've got like a little junk shop in the bottom and vending machines. I'm quite proud of how this building turned out. It was a lot of effort. It's one of my most favorite of my personal pieces that I've built in the 4 years for the build on the corner there. And really, my style has sort of leaned heavily into this like Hong Kong architectural aesthetic. And some of the new buildings I have are the same way, but this is just one of my most favorites with the little balconies and all the little moments that you can really get into when you're standing around and taking the build in. If we move around a little bit too, we've got another one of the matrix walls again that brings it live. This is like a custom LED matrix I've built into the side here to get that lighted effect. It's if we want to capture that like cyberpunk feel, that's like neon glowing, always awake city. You have to have these features like this, and I'm super proud of how that turned out. It's like an Arduino driving that. And some other high-rise apartment buildings or office spaces in here, again, with the repeated detailing of the laundry hanging from the windows and just people living their lives. I really want New Hashima to feel like a place when a viewer is looking at it that they could actually really imagine be living in 100 years, a couple hundred years in the new future. It's the sense of like realism that I want to capture with New Hashima, and usually it gets that from the crowd. It's like, man, you've really thought through the little details. It really looks like a lived-in place. So those little fine details details like laundry and chairs just randomly. Just people living their lives are important if you want to capture that. And then I have another thing that's like a cyberpunk theme is this mega building. And a lot of cyberpunk media you'd find to deal with like overpopulation, you would build these big residential structures that are like monoliths in the city. So that's what this is representing. You would see something like this in like Judge Dredd. Cyberpunk 2077 has them as well. It's just a common trope in Cyberpunk to have these mega residential structures to house and deal with overpopulation. That's a problem that would face a society in Cyberpunk science fiction, right? We came around right here. You can see this nice view into Inner City, the towers. Again, we had Dana from Peach Lug here. And Mike,
the mech lot we kind of heard about.
Yeah, we kind of talked about like the mech dealership. It was a pretty novel. We actually had a joke, and we didn't want mechs to run rampant over New Hashima, but we've laxed our rules a little bit. And now we have the mech dealership. We had a meme that was like no mechs that went through the thing, but we've calmed down a little bit. Mechs are allowed, and we love Dana knocked it out of the park with this cool dealership with the awesome font here. He also used these really cool video pods to get this texture on this building we're happy with. Again, we're going to shout out to Mikey from South Carolina, who came as a new demon here with us this weekend with the awesome noodle shop. He caught this really iconic kind of shop feel with this electronic shop that you might see in like an alleyway in Akihabara in downtown Tokyo. There's a very famous one that closed a few years ago, and he added that detail. When he posted on the Discord, I was so happy because I immediately recognized it because it's so famous. So shout out to him for including that awesome detail. Super happy to have that represented in New Hashima. And then we have Steven's Cube, of all fame and fortune. Steven, I think he's asleep again. He's a sleepy boy, but he's also joined us here with the Cube. We're happy to have him. Always happy to hang out with the Ericksons, and happy to have him as a demon here with us this weekend. Now, one of my newest buildings for this weekend that I haven't shown yet is this, I call it the tool building because I've used these Duplo tiles to spell out in Danish tool. Maybe some of the Danish viewers will tell me how well we've done in the comments. But I really wanted to use these Duplo alphabet tiles that I found at a store, and I've built a little tool shop into the bottom here to sell that. So we have the script around the city. Another thing that adds that like realism is the script, and also it gives you that like melting pot. So we have like Danish, we have Chinese characters, Japanese kanji, to give that like melting pot of cultures that you expect in like cyberpunk stories and definitely in New Hashima. So I've got the Danish there. I really wanted to use those funky characters on the side and that interesting piece. And I'm super happy with how this building turns out. One of my more favorite ones, and a new one for this weekend. So under this is a really special cube that Casey McCoy has built. I'm going to bring him in here to talk about it, a new cube that we have, and returning from Chicago, and a demon here forever. Casey, come in here and talk about your cube, okay?
Thank you, Stefan. Hi, Josh and John. Nice to see you guys again. So last time with Chicago, I made a massive octan tower. I'm from the Chicagoland area, couldn't fit that in my suitcase flying down to Atlanta. So in order to still try and be a part of it, I've got my cube contribution today, which is a little special. Brickner.com sent me 42639 Andrea's Modern Mansion, which is a friend set, and it's pretty novel for a variety of reasons. It's got the first 14-plus set. It returns some of the classic Friends characters, and also has the new reddish orange, so that was a lot of fun to play with. So built the set and then tried to remix it and reimagine it as to what would Friends kind of look like in New Hashima. So if you're familiar with the set, you'll notice some like key similar architectural details, like what I'm describing is kind of like the ribbed wall on the first floor, the gradient a lot. There's palm trees that use the new palm tree elements on the left-hand side that kind of all, incorporates and reimagines the set in that way. I've also got minifigure recreations of all the Friends characters as well. I know their names. I don't know who's who, apart from Andrea, who's on the second floor right by her name, which is from a separate Friends set. The lore, I guess, of the cube, it's a little convoluted. The first floor is like a spa, so the kanji on the left-hand side says spa, and there's kind of like that koi pond out front, and the lights kind of don't make sense because it looks like a rave. I've never seen a spa that has like multicolored lights and all that.
You're just not going to the right ones.
No, well, it's Cyberpunk too, so maybe they relax by getting stressed. I don't know. On the second floor, it's kind of like a lounge, which kind of evokes a lot of the open air seating from the set and uses a lot of those similar fabricated pieces, like the table and the chairs are pretty much lifted directly from the set. And then the third floor is kind of like a boutique, like a high-end cyberpunk fashion boutique. So there's kind of like mannequins that have different, cyberpunk styles and things like that. The one other piece that's not super close to the cube is the Modern Mansion set also has a car, a teal car. That car ended up in Sector 8. But all in all, it's fun to, go through and kind of reimagine in a new Hashima cyberpunk world. So thank you to Brick Nerd. There's articles about it if anybody's interested and wants to read more. So
we're big fans of what Brick Nerd does, so I'm glad they could help inspire you and inspire this build here. I think it looks great. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
What's up next?
Hey, so something kind of neat that we have this time versus Chicago. If you have a viewer and you haven't watched the video from Chicago, we had a huge 80-plus person collaborative version of New Hashima. They should definitely check out. But we only have like 12 people this time. But something that's nice to have a little bit less is we get this really nice open space where you can like really see into the like plaza and the New Hashima, all these little minifig stories being told, and you get a lot of angles. We got a lot of compliments today at like how you can really see in people who've seen the Chicago one, and now we're seeing this. It's in the highway is nice, how it's this level thing, and you can see over and see in. So we're really happy with how the layout turned out, kind of workshopping some of the layout from Chicago in to get these nice viewing angles. And something else that we were able to do with all this nice plaza space, and we had it in Chicago too, but certainly have it here, are these nice little moments around the plaza. And I'm actually going to bring in John to talk about this piece of art that he has put in, a new Hashima contributor.
Here we go.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I'm John, also known as Brick City Planner on Instagram. And yeah, I joined this collab just a few weeks ago. And one of the projects I hope to do in this next year is to build a modern art museum. So in doing that, I was thinking I'll want to eventually have a sculpture outside the art museum as well. So that's kind of the genesis of this sculpture. And this sculpture, I was really trying to focus on how to use lights in new ways. So you'll notice at the base of the sculpture, there's actually a white outline of lights that's on the ground level too, illuminating it. And then in the inner core of it, I have the three primary colors illuminated these little tubes, just using strip lights. And I thought the red spiral effect on the outer edge of it would also be kind of a cool effect. And you might not be able to see it from the top, but the top of it also has a pretty cool look as well.
Okay. No, I love the color that adds there, both in the lights and then just the different colored elements you use. So thank you.
Cool, thank you.
Here we go.
Yeah, so again, we have a lot of new collaborators out here for New Hashima. New Hashima is always growing and expanding, and we've got new people who want to be interested. We are an open collab. If you're willing to build to our standards and match the sort of energy that we have, we're always happy to have new people interested in building and contributing to new Hashima. So after the plaza here, we have these nice towers. And another new contribution for this display is this high-rise apartment right here. Again, I wanted that like Hong Kong style that I'm just sort of interested in right now. We have all these little apartment buildings and moments, this like run down AC unit sort of thing with the little shops in the corners that was like a street snack vendor using some of the old printed pieces from like the 60s and the vending machines, capturing that Hong Kong, Tokyo feel. So very proud of that. I'm also going to bring in Daniel, also here from Atlanta, who's back again with us and has brought a new cube and a topper that he wants to talk about as part of Inner City.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Daniel, or Double King Bricks, some people know me as. So the tower that I built here is NetTech Tower. So this is your sort of cyberpunk mega corporation kind of dystopian thing going on. So NetTech is, provides telecommunications equipment to the government, the military, all those people with that sensitive data. So NetTech's slogan is, "Your data is our business." So, again, this kind of dystopian undercurrents going on, but, again, one of the staples of New Hashima is weird parts usage. So I get a lot of questions about this one, about these big window pieces. So those are the lids from the watch box cases that Lego made in the 1990s. So, again, a really, really weird parts usage, but it's a cool way to get these big kind of windows that you might see on a big skyscraper. So got some nice lights going on in there. And then I used the Lego Dimensions game pads as well up on the top. I had to sort of hack those with a Raspberry Pi. I had a friend help me out with that to get some different colored lights up there on the top. And then, of course, we've got a nice big tall antenna on top. I think I ended up being the tallest antenna in this iteration, but the light bulb on top to warn for airplanes has unfortunately burned out. So we've got a brave electrical worker who's scaling the tower to go change the light bulb up there. So again, just kind of some fun stories and stuff going on, especially in New Hashima, is what it's all about, incorporating all those weird parts that make people go, what's that? What is that from? What is that? What's going on there? So.
And this one is kind of a triangular shape, right? So how did you achieve that?
Yeah, so that's a little bit more of an unconventional shape. So I actually used the same kind of Technic structure inside that we use for the cubes, but I just did 3 sides and connected with them with some of the older hinge panels from the sort of 1990s era to get that kind of triangular shape. But it's definitely a little fussy getting the proportions to work right. Lego System does not like equilateral triangles.
Very good point, but excellent work. Thank you so much for bringing this out here.
Thank you very much, and I'll pass it off to Simon.
All right, so I know Nate did talk a bit about the highway. So the other thing, because I was traveling, I brought a lot of the cars. So like a lot of these cars, you might notice that they're brought in or have been used in other sections, but we knew we were going to have the highway, so we knew that we needed to populate it. So like the other ask was we could keep making it big and tall, but we needed more cars. So part of me was just let's just bring many more cars. Some of them are reused from the other displays. Like there's one in particular. This one is a Wish version of Simon 2 from Germany. If you remember the very tall tower, yes. He designed that. I kind of built my own copy of that, though he did help and provide the stud I/O. But I think the other thing about the whole New Hashima is that it's not just about the builds, it's about the community. And there's something that besides just all the support and stuff, we have sponsors and people like this guy right here.
Oh God.
Who has made a lot of our swag, has a lot of the printed tiles and things. You weren't ready for this, and is one of our proud sponsors. Same with Brick Stuff, Atlanta Brick Co. They help do we can't do all of this without some of these. Yes. So thank you, Victor, for all of that. Thank you, Atlanta Brick Co. for
I don't know.
Yes, and I think the last thing we'll end off is the military parade here. This is Steven, again, I believe he's sleeping, where he wanted to build something, and we needed a good place for it, and we felt that this was appropriate. And leading in front is one of Carter's original, who is one of the original Brola guys, his vehicle leading this parade kind of down and causing no good. But I think with that, I think we're about done. And of course...
Oh, thank you so much.
There you go.
Absolutely. Are we ready for this? Yeah. Here we go. Okay.
Cheers. Another one in the books. Sports ball. Sports ball.
Oh, delicious.
Thank you so much.
Spectacular work, everyone. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see more in the future.